Merci. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here. I'm from Toronto, yes. And tonight, it's a bit of a, well, since the previous talk was about performance, shout out to Katie, this is going to be a performance. So, with that being said, welcome to the performance alphabet. And here we go. A. What does A stand for? A stands for AMP, AMP, mobile pages. Love it or leave it, love it or hate it, it's here. It's a bit of a, what they call a stopgap to fix the slow mobile web. So, B stands for broadly, compression algorithm that's out there based on Huffman encoding, LZ77. You'll be able to look it up. C stands for caching. We talked about that earlier. You can get a lot of good performance improvements from caching alone. Definitely check that out. D stands for discrete cosine transform. If you're an images person, like the next person is going to be, this is a bit of a mathematical savior for JPEGs. Remember that. E stands for EXIF data. 16% of JPEGs or PNGs are sometimes just basic EXIF useless stuff. Take it out. F stands for front end developers. The front end is where 90% of performance issues take place. Keep that in mind. It's a lot of work right there. G stands for gzip. Don't you forget that. H stands for hints, specifically client hints, aka HTTP request header fields. Look that up. It's pretty complicated. Ilya Grigor could tell you all about it. I stands for image optim, the greatest image compression tool on the planet. J stands for jank. You want that smooth animation, nothing less than 60 frames per second. Keep that in mind. K stands for kilobytes. Keep them nice and low. Why? Because emerging markets can't take all that heavy weight. And most of the planet is an emerging market. L stands for latency, yeah, but since we're at Google, we're going to say that L stands for lighthouse. Who's been using lighthouse here? Oh, not enough. All right, you have to look that up. M, measure, 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 measure. If you think your app is fast, prove it. Measure. N stands for Navigation Timing API. Too long to talk about it. Look it up. O stands for offline first. You know, it's, well, maybe not up here. The subways are all above ground here, right? Yeah, so maybe you don't need it. But actually you do. P stands for pre-connect, pre-render, pre-fetch, resource hints. Make sure you look that up. You can use them now, in fact, but do the research. Q stands for not donut. Q stands for quick. QUIC, another protocol, experimental. It's all about reducing latency. R. Now, I can say that R stands for request. Katie talked about that earlier, but R definitely stands for Responsive Images Community Group. They did a lot of work to help us out, anyhow, with responsive images. By the way, they are not a not so distant cousin of performance. Keep that in mind. S. Now, I can say that S stands for speedy. I can say S stands for service worker, but S really stands for Steve Souders. He really got the world going on performance somewhere around 10 years ago. Please keep that in mind. Thank you, Steve. T. If you're not throttling when you're testing your app, you're not doing it right. You have to throttle the CPU, you have to throttle the bandwidth, because once again, no one's walking around with a laptop on their arm and incredible Google bandwidth. It's all 3G, 2G, you know, fake LTE. Make sure you throttle. U stands for User Timing API. Can we get a round of applause for Apple, who just added this to Safari, please? Thank you very much. Look that up. It's another means of measuring your app performance. V stands for velocity. Who's ever been to Velocity Conference? Show of hands. Oh, man. Fantastic conference, all about performance. You can actually go online and check out a lot of the videos that are on YouTube. There's a link in there for you guys to check out. W Now, as Katie mentioned earlier, and as Steve Souders once said, web page test is the greatest performance tool on the planet. But since it's been talked about already, W stands for the wealthy Western web. We are basically not emblematic of what's happening the rest of the world around. Keep that in mind. X. X stands for a lot of different things, but today X stands for experience, specifically user experience. Always keep the user in mind. We're doing it for them, not for us. Y. Y stands for why slow. One of the earliest page speed assessment tools. It's actually still online. You could go check that out. And Z stands for Zopfli, another compression algorithm that's here to save us. Now, these are all the links to the typography I've been using. It's part of the 36 days of type on Instagram. And you'll be able to check out all the resources that I talked about right here. Merci beaucoup.